as it applies to species euphoria, and we're also going to mention gender euphoria because we think there's a little bit of overlap. So that's going to kind of be what we're going to cover there. So I hope that helps. All right, we ready to rock and roll?
I think I am.
All right, Jay, if you want to throw up our first panel,
Oh, do we want to link the
and we can link it too. Yeah,
just
we've
to
got
view the slides?
So we're gonna. We know some folks have done a view only link, so we're gonna link it, and we are recording now. Thank you. And we're gonna put everything in the chat here so that people can follow along. Heck yeah, thank you all. Okay, so welcome to our discussion, Live Like an Animal, a discussion on species euphoria. How we're basically going to do this is kind of similar to the way we did our panel last year, except now they have this cool thing where we can invite people up on stage to talk. So we may do a little of that. We'll see how it goes. We're going to do some talking, kind of talk about some of our experiences. We're going to talk about our personal beliefs on this in general. And just kind of, do we need to be like streaming to the so how are we doing this? Should we also go live, like, on a video or something? Sorry to ask, I should have asked that when we got started.
I I think since we can't do that on the stage, yeah.
Gotcha, okay. Just making sure. Um, okay. So, yeah, we're just gonna kinda talk about, different types of species euphoria, why it's important, why we feel like it should be an essential part of the kin experience, all that good stuff. So, I can kick off and introduce myself first. I'm Sin. I'm the dog in the middle. I'm 29 years old. I come from Western North Carolina and consider myself Appalachian. You'll see me calling myself an Appalachian werewolf a lot. I'm red wolf subspecies, and yeah. It's funny because when I hear Sin aloud, I'm always like, "Ha! There's two of us," and I point. We point at each other because you're a coyote and I'm a red wolf, I believe, and so it's kind of like, "Ha ha." Um, but I became aware, haha, of being a wolf when I was around about 8 years old, and found the Therian community specifically when I was about 12. So I've been around for a little bit. This is some fantastic art, and I think we forgot to get our source. We did this last year too. We sourced everything else in this panel except for
It
this.
is
Gotchmon, thank
Gotchmon
you,
on
Jay.
Twitter. Yeah, Jay just
Jay's
plugged
so
him in there.
strong. Jay's so strong. Um, my favorite dog. Okay, so yeah, that's me.
I'm Pete. I'm the one with the brown fur on the left. I'm very bad at
Cor-
right and left.
Correct.
I'm 31. I live in Illinois. I first found out about uh, otherkin and Therians when I was like 16 in the mid thousands through werewolf fandom online. Um, and yeah, I've been trying to be an animal ever since then.
And then we have our good dog Jay. Jay's in the chat right now. You will see them being a wonderful supporter by posting all of our panels, providing all of the links and sources that we have used for this discussion, and generally just answering your questions. There they are right there. They're a very good dog. Pat their head, just give them a little scritch or a treat or something. They're a very good dog.
Yes, Jay is very
We
good.
love them. They are also non-binary, they are also a werewolf, they have also been an animal for a long time, and consider themselves to have joined the otherkin community in 2013. I see everybody treating Jay, and I love to see it. That makes my heart so warm. Okay, going ahead and rolling into, our next panel, I'm gonna be honest, when we were like, "What are we gonna present on this year?" We just decided we sat around and we just talked about being otherkin for a little while, and what we felt passionate to us and what hit us in a way that made us really wanna get excited. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jay, that's my mistake. Do not pet Jay. Jay is not petable, but you may offer them compliments. Um, so, wanted to lean into that, and basically what we found is that the thing that got us excited is, you know, being kin. and being dogs and being passionate about being something other than human. Um,
Hmm.
and we came across this really good quote from someone that I have a lot of love and respect for, Miss Dolly Parton. And it's find out who you are and do it on purpose. And so we wanted to kind of kick this off with a quote from Dolly Parton because we kind of feel like that's what um the that's what the whole thing is about here is just, figuring out who you are, do it on purpose every day, learn how to embrace that as part of yourself.
Yeah, I think Dolly Parton is an inspiration to all of us, to be honest. Um, and she is who she is, and she is herself on purpose, very visibly and vocally. She stands up for what she believes in. She does what she wants. Um, she's great.
Yeah, we love her. And so going on to our next slide.
So, euphoria is a feeling or state of intense excitement and happiness. Um, Species euphoria is, uh, as described by Ronnie, a Dragon's Journal on Tumblr. Species euphoria is the feeling of comfort, happiness, and rightness that one experiences when they're able to present, represent, and be addressed as their correct species. Um, it's it has been overlooked in the past, and people talk a lot about dysphoria. And we started the con with a species dysphoria meet and greet, but species euphoria is also very, very important. Um, it's We all need good things in our lives.
Yeah, and Ronnie, I see you reacting in the chat. This is we wanted to make sure to credit you on here because it's a really good quote. Species euphoria being that comfort, rawness, and happiness that you experience is really important.
Yeah, and Ronnie, I just liked your
Misuse
definition. It
of
was
the
very
term
concise and clear.
species panel.
So thank you for having written it.
If you have already
Fun fact on the Dolly Parton slide, we did consider photoshopping Dolly Parton into we
which
looked
is
up her
which is not
favorite
nice to
animal
see.
and we were like, thinking about making her a little kin. Um, and ultimately decided against it because it would have been a lot of work. But just in case you were curious, her favorite animal is butterflies.
She has
Uh,
multiple butterfly tattoos.
she has multiple butterfly tattoos. Uh, yep. So we would have given her yellow wings because that's her favorite color. It's yellow. Everybody thinks it's pink. It's yellow. So anyway, that's your fun Dolly Parton fact of the day. Okay. Continuing on.
So our next slide, uh, for all three of us who worked on this, putting this panel together, our species identity is pretty heavily related to our gender identity. Um, and uh, Gender euphoria is actually like one of the main things that I looked into when I was first examining my own gender. I didn't feel a lot of what I realized was like I didn't realize that I was feeling gender dysphoria, but I did find things where if I didn't refer to myself as my assigned gender, I would get euphoria. So looking into that helped me learn a lot more about myself and just gender euphoria is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and just like our plug is that hey, we did a panel on this last year. If you'd like to see it, um, check that out. It's on YouTube. Um,
Yeah, it's available on the YouTube for OtherCon because they recorded it last year.
and yeah, it's good. I think it's pretty okay. I finally rewatched it the other day because I was like, oh no, I bet we rambled a bunch and it was terrible. And I rewatched it and I was like, oh, we didn't do too bad. So maybe this will be all right. Okay, so moving on, models of self-acceptance. So for several years, and kind of my long-term career and passion is that I do a lot of education on healthy relationships and how to and community building as that's like my professional career. I say as a wolf, ha ha ha. But some careers are appropriate. And so I say all this to say, oh my gosh, thank you for this blessing of Dolly Parton butterfly. Oh,
Thank you,
sorry.
Castiel.
I'm
This is
sorry for
beautiful.
everybody who's listening to this recording later. If you are listening to this and you are not at OtherCon, there's a Photoshop to Dolly Parton as a butterfly in the chat, and it's really beautiful. Shout out to Cassiel who made this, and it's really wonderful. Thank you. So, models of self acceptance. So, earlier today, there was a panel. Which panel was it specifically? Oh my goodness, the trans species panel, I believe there was a lot of talk about therapy, and like whether therapists approve of being otherkin, basically. And what I'm sure many of you have found, but we wanted to ascertain loudly, is that this is heckin' therapist approved. I've never met a therapist, at least any therapist that I would call like a good therapist who helped people. I've never known a therapist who hasn't encouraged you to embrace this side of yourself and that hasn't said this is something wonderful. At least every therapist I've had has always said, um, you know, this is a wonderful thing. It's about what helps you feel, about what helps you stand taller and have that sense of self confidence. And any good therapist, whether they, whether they understand it even or not, should encourage this. And yeah, like, frankly, any therapist that doesn't support this isn't supporting you and probably isn't being a great therapist.
Yeah.
Um,
If your therapist is discouraging your self-exploration and self-expression, that is not a therapist who should be working as a therapist. Um, and like you as a person going to therapy, you have a right to, and like you deserve a therapist who will be there to support and help you and encourage you to do healthy things. And these are healthy things. Like it is healthy to find species euphoria.
so in this case, kind of this is what this is modeled off the models are around is these models of self-acceptance and about having a sense of self-acceptance. Because self-acceptance leads to self-confidence, it leads to a more positive self-identity. And frankly, you deserve to be confident in your weirdness. Like, we're gonna have I don't want to get ahead of myself. I have a bad tendency to do that. So leave it there. And continuing on, something really important for this kind of self exploration is things like this, like OtherCon, right? Like having community support and having positive environments that encourage education over ostracization, that build bridges instead of walls, right? And that's what like this kind of setting is for. Is it's for us to have these conversations like just in for example in the trans species panel today. I there was someone saying, "Oh, I had never really heard this term and I had some misconceptions about it, and now I understand it way better and may even feel that this relates to my personal experience." And that's an experience they wouldn't have had if we hadn't all gathered together at the watering hole here at OtherCon and had this conversation.
Hmm.
Um, it's okay to choose your friends because having a non-judgmental and respectful place to explore who you are is crucial. It's like having that space, and that's not just us saying that. So when you look at the resiliency model across like different types of uh you know and yes, blood muffins, I when you were talking in your panel earlier, I was like, oh my gosh, we need to sit down and have a conversation because you have some cool stuff to say that is like very on point with what we're excited about, which is that you know what studies show us is that this resiliency model tells us that for people to be resilient and for people to and so just real quick to define resiliency, it's basically the ability to endure trauma, right? Which we're all going to endure at some point in our lives. Realistically, life is hard and there are going to be points in our lives that are going to be difficult. Like whether we like it or not, we are always going to have these experiences that are going to be traumatic. And heck, we've all gone through a difficult past year, right? Of like world trauma,
That
right?
is so true.
And so definitely we're going to have these traumatic experiences in our lives. So it's about being able to adapt and survive, uh, and being able to do it in a way that nurtures you and helps you grow instead of makes you stagnate. And having like a positive outlook really helps. But like what the resiliency model basically says is that you need a combination of factors to be able to survive and be resilient. One of those factors really often is community support. It's having people in your life that see you, that love you for who you are, and that that are going to say, yeah, for us it means you are a dog. Maybe it means, my husband is kin with Hal Pendragon, calling him and acknowledging him as a wizard makes him happy. It's there's all kinds of different, you know ways that you can those kind of euphoric experiences. It's a quick and easy way to say I love you to somebody. It's a quick way easy way to say I see you, and those
Hmm.
kind of things build resiliency. um I There's so many good questions happening. I think we'll probably come to the questions at the end, but we're gonna
I think that's a
we'll
good
s
idea.
we see you and you're good.
Also about community support, I want to say, like, in addition to paying attention to who your friends are, and like choosing friends who build you up and who respect you and who support you, also support your friends. And if your friends say something, like if they tell you they believe something and you don't understand, calmly talk to them. You know, don't attack them, but like learn from and support each other.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's, you know, uh, um, I had a conversation with some friends just last night about, these terms that are kind of in between, and we've had some conversations about like hearted and, people who are on the fringes of the community who like there's been a lot of gatekeeping through the years of keeping people out of the community because, oh, you aren't kin enough or you don't kin in the right way, or whatever that might look like. And there's something to be said about making sure that we keep our communities safe and that we don't allow abusers to be in our community and we don't allow like harmful power imbalances and people to manipulate others. But gatekeeping for the sense of you're not doing it in the right way or you're not enough or you don't remember all of your past life memories so you can't be this, and you didn't predict the way your TV show is so you're not really fiction ken, and we all know all the different things that people say. um and it's a waste of time when we could be lifting each other up and making ourselves have better and more enriched lives,
Hmm.
helping ourselves. The world's hard enough without it making it worse for each other, right? So, that being said, on to the next slide, I think. Pete, anything else you wanna say on that?
I don't think so. I think next slide is good. So,
We have a guest
obvi-
presenter here. Lego she is here for us.
yeah, Legoshi is here to help us. Um, Obviously, not all people in the world are nice. So sometimes it is important to assess how safe it is for you to express yourself in different ways. Um, it's important to make sure that we won't be. I mean, obviously, I do not want to get into. I'm not saying like respectability politics are good, but I'm saying for your own safety, if you're in a place that's like full of people who won't be accepting, you know, don't wear a tail all the time, but find places where it is safe to wear a tail. You can wear a tail around your friends in the privacy of your home. Um, Furry cons. I've worn tails to art shows and concerts, and just assess your setting and who you will be with and how you want to be expressing yourself, and then go ahead and do
And
the things.
that's so much it's like we can't emphasize enough that this isn't a matter of any of us trying to say, that we don't think you should be otherkin out and about or anything like that, that this we obviously think this should be something that's more accepted.
Yes.
But for a matter of your safety individually, we think this is a good guideline to follow. That's why we did the where, how, who, or where, who, how. Like, you know, where are you? Look around, say, is this a safe space? Who are you with? Are these people that are are you with people that are gonna support you if something goes bad, if someone starts to harass you? And, you know, how are you gonna do that self-expression? In what manner? Is that wearing a tail? If you're gonna be going out to with people who maybe won't be as supportive, maybe that just means wearing a shirt with a wolf on it, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and whatever you do, and we're gonna talk about different ways to do that self-expression as well. But um yeah, and just to something real quick that Teddy just said, at university there was a guy that wore a tail daily, and when he lost it, nearly the school dropped everything to help him look. I think that's totally true. I have a little this is not quite the same thing, but I have a little stuffed frog backpack. I'm 29 years old. Um, it's a stuffed frog.
Frogs are
Um,
important.
and like everywhere I go, I get tons of people complimenting me on it. And it's adults 9 times out of 10. It is usually not children. It is usually people who look at me and clearly wish they were carrying the frog backpack. Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes these kinds of self-expressions, and that's why it's important to say, hey, maybe there are, opportunities that you could wear a tail at. I've worn a tail in public when I've been with friends who I knew would be supportive of me, and it was in an environment that I knew was going to be, less aggressive.
Yeah.
It's all about level of safety. Sorry, Pete. I think I jumped in there on before your second talking point. I was just like,
No, you
ah.
jumped in at a great point. I loved what you said. Um, and yeah, if you feel comfortable with it, talk to your friends and your family about how you want to be referred. Um, my like my wife knows that I like being called her puppy or her dog. Um, and she does that, and it makes me feel great, and I love it a lot.
Uh,
Um,
my my husband knows that patting my head is the quickest way to calm me down.
mm, mhm.
Like, if I'm and I mean that sincerely, like, if I'm having a big stress response, I know y'all know that I mean that sincerely. You hear me automatically deflecting. Um, but, it's if he pats my head, I just immediately if I can be really tense, really upset, and it just immediately calms me down. And it's good to have people in your life that can bring that joy into it.
Also, listen to your own discomfort. Like, if you realize you are feeling unsafe when you're wearing a tail in public, you can take the tail off and then put it back on later when you do feel safe again. Um, your own discomfort is important, and it does matter. And you shouldn't let people cross your boundaries. It,
Hit
you know,
a quick note on kind of the chat that's happening about, like, if people wore tails in public, would it become more regular? If people wore more tails, it would, you know, be more across the board. And I think there's been a really great example of that in kitty cat ears. Oh my gosh. When I was 14, if kitty cat ears in the way that they are now were as popular to wear, I would have never I wasn't even I'm not even catkin, but you can bet I would have wore kitty cat ears to school every heckin' day. And like now that's really popular. Like Gen Z has made that acceptable, I feel, or definitely a lot more acceptable than it was.
yeah,
And
definitely.
and I think that's great. Like I think that's wonderful. And I think Kit, I think you're absolutely right. I think that like if those things come into fashion more and more, it becomes more okay. Unfortunately, right? Like I hate it's got to be like that, but
Yeah, but the more people who start to express themselves these ways, the more safe it'll be for more people to do it.
and part of it's about conservation of energy too, though. It's about is this going to be something that's going to help you? Is it going to give you euphoria or is it going to give you dysphoria? Um, sometimes, we want to go out and we want to feel good, but the big problem that we run into when people like mock us for doing things that make us feel more stable in ourselves. So like I wear a tail out in public and someone mocks me for it. The deal that one of the things that I'm gonna probably deal with is some species dysphoria, right? And so I may make the decision not to do that, and it's not failing my inner wolf. It's keeping my inner wolf safe because it's not
Hmm.
anybody else's business. And so like what instead I might do is maybe that day I wear a wolf printed shirt, or maybe that day I wear a scarf, which gives me an impression of like a ruff around my neck and makes me feel more like a wolf. You know, there are all kinds of different ways that you can find to express that um, if you need that. It's about conserving your energy, keeping yourself safe. You don't have to disclose who you are to everybody. Like it's not their business. Following that, kind of on our next slide, we just kind of put together a compilation of what we've lovingly called uh, daily enrichment, a la being a zoo animal. We feel like nurturing your inner kin is much like being pent up in a zoo. You are metaphorically giving yourself uh, pumpkins stuffed with meat when you do when you do things that indulge your species euphoria.
Hmm.
Pete, would you like to share some of your things you have on here?
Yeah, I've got uh, down in the bottom corner. There's me wearing my fursuit. I really like wearing my fursuit. It's fun. It's great being able to just be a furry animal. Um, and as someone who does like receiving head pats uh, at like a furry convention, it's great just being in a fursuit and people coming up to you and being like, "Oh, can I pet you? You're so cute." It feels really good. It makes me feel like a good dog. I've got a wolf stuffed animal that is really special to me. I got it when me and my wife were on our honeymoon. So it just is a good friend that reminds me of the love I have for my wife. And it feels really good to just think about that sometimes. Um, I also have my wife and I have a spot that we like to go to at a nearby river. And it's just so wonderful to just be out in nature and just exist in nature. And our house is basically in a forest. So we can just decide to go for a walk and we're in the woods. And it's absolutely lovely. Um, and then I do also I keep a pseudo altar of werewolf stuff. It's also on the bottom row of this slide with the werewolf mask, and there's a photograph of a wolf that my dad took in Yellowstone. And then there's a few other things. And then on the same shelf with that, I keep a whole bunch of comics and books that are all werewolf related, so I can just go through them and just feel good werewolf feelings when I want to. And
Um,
Sin, what's some of the stuff that you have?
some of the things I have on here, on the far left side, kind of on the second, I've shown my nails, which I have um, with my Harvest Moon tattoo. I keep my nails long, and it's something it's a self care thing that I've done to keep my nails long and tough. And it's really funny because everybody's always like, "Oh, your nails are so pretty," and I'm like, "Thanks," and then they don't know in my head that it's because I'm like, "They're my claws." Like, yeah, you don't know that I'm a werewolf, but I am. And something to just kind of be able to clicky clack my little nails on the table is a really discreet way to give myself a little bit of kin euphoria
Mm-hmm.
that nobody else knows about. That's my kin euphoria, and I get to have that feeling. Um, and so I love to have some claws. Songs to go a woo is a playlist that I've made. I I can I can throw it in here. Um,
It is a
it's
very good playlist.
I like it. It's basically just random songs that have a part of the song that goes a woo in it. Um, it's just random songs, normal songs that quote unquote as they might say, um, that you can listen to that have parts of the songs that let you go ah woo along to it. Um, for me, that's really kin euphoric, and it's something that I can do, around uh around anybody. Um, so the let's see what else is on here. This eating food out of dog bowls, and obviously now all this is we're werewolves, so we've catered our slide to what we are, which is werewolves,
Yeah,
and
we used examples
we
from
use a
our
lot of
own lives,
we just use
so
dog
it is a
stuff.
little
So,
dog specified, but
but there's ways to do this for anything and anyone. My own altar there, which has a bunch of my wolf stuff on it. Some of you accurately spotted the Divine Canine Tarot, which is my third tarot deck. Absolutely my most euphoric in the sense that the cards just feel right to me and feel good to me. Thank you so much for linking that. I absolutely recommend this deck. It's wonderful. Um, and then we also have our J Dog up here in the top right corner, being a very good dog in suit as well. Um,
mhm.
and then at the bottom right, that's just an outfit that I put together a couple of years ago that was really kin euphoric. There was like boxers. It was very gender euphoric as well. Had like boxers with wolves all over them. My werewolf girlfriend shirt, and my tail, and a big wolf claw that someone had made me. And it's just little ways that you can celebrate yourself and your species.
Yeah, and I also have a lot of wolf and werewolf themed T-shirts. I'm actually wearing one that my wife bought for me recently. It's a pink shirt, which is my favorite color, and it has a moon with a silhouette of a wolf, and it says "awoo" on it. I love it a lot, and I actually have the same exact shirt also in black, so I can wear it very often. I'm very happy about it.
I have a blue shirt on that has a snarling wolf with orange accents, and it says Wolf's Howl Pub, sharp teeth and hard drinks. And I love it. And I got this on Poshmark. So, there's ways to find this stuff. It's out there. This is a wholesome panel. Good. I'm glad that I'm glad that what a good brand for this panel to have gotten. That makes me warm.
Oh, also another thing, another type of daily enrichment that I saw. I saw recently a tweet that was a person had made like scale mail dragon scale arms with claw tipped gloves. They were very good and they made very nice sounds when you like ran the claws over the scales. It was very pretty.
Yes, like I love that, and I'm not even a dragon. Like, just I can't even imagine the euphoria. Um, so rolling past that, uh, dignity and animality. Um, I don't know how many of you are Watership Down fans. It's pretty lit. I recommend it. It's a real good book. Um, this is a personal favorite quote that we wanted to make sure to throw some homage to. Animals don't behave like men, he said. If they have to fight, they fight, and if they have to kill, they kill. They don't sit down and set their wits to work ways to devise. To this, they don't set their wits to work to devise ways of spoiling other creatures' lives and hurting them. They have dignity and animality. Um, and so this was something that personally resonates with me with my animality. It may not
Hmm.
resonate with you, but it did for me. So we wanted, and for all of us, I should say. So we wanted to include it on here. But Jay down here in the corner reminding us, to wake up and choose to be an animal on purpose is kind of what this is about. Is the kind of the purpose of the euphoria of this, and us encouraging the euphoria is saying every day that you want to be an animal. And so some other ways we kind of wanted to talk about encouraging that is deciding what that means for you in your own life. I've known people who, have done all kinds of different things pursuing and following, what their kin type meant for them.
Hmm.
Um, and so that can look like researching your kin type with books, documentaries. I'm currently reading The Reign of Wolf 21, which is a really wonderful book about the wolves of Yellowstone. And it follows their behavior and the different things that they have done, and like some things that we can learn as, living this existence. And so for me, that may mean things like, well, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. There was a really good documentary I watched a while back. Yeah, Wolf 21 is wonderful. The There's a really good documentary I watched a while back about Arctic wolves. And so how does your kin type's natural behavior reflect in your current lived experience? And so we wanted to say lived experience because we recognize that a lot of us here don't identify as human, but in your current lived experience, how are you reflecting your kintype's behavior? And so is it just in your physical everyday? And so one of the things we kind of wanted to try to encourage here is like how what are ways that we can do that in our behavior as well? Um so, you know, sorry, I'm trying to like get back to my notes on this. Uh I thought I had notes on this. I don't. Oh well. We'll just keep going. Uh how are you adapting those behaviors? So for me, um I am a wolf, and wolves are really big about a sense of community, building togetherness. Obviously they're family units. And so for me, I choose to adapt that in my everyday life by trying to build community. I'm from a really rural area. I've done a lot of things to help bring my community together in different ways, and that's one way that I follow my calling of and that I feel like I'm a wolf, is that I help bring people together around me, or I try to. And so it's just like trying to look at your life not only in the sense of like, and actually, Very There has a really good comic about this, to just plug that again. They have a really good page where it talks about, different ways that, that Ken might look at the world and say, "Okay, well, if I'm non-human, maybe my calling is to help preserve nature," or, um, is that the specific comic? You're so strong, Sin. Oh, no, the bad request, it timed out. It's so close, it's in there somewhere. Um, so there's a really good page where it just talks about different ways that can have chosen to live their experience, whatever that look means for them.
Hmm.
Um, and it not always having to be like a physical thing. I see your
Yes.
questions. Your questions are good.
Um, uh, One thing that I did, there's a book by Mark Rowlands called The Philosopher and the Wolf, and it's about the guy who, like the guy who wrote the book himself, uh, like helped rehabilitate a wolf dog from like when it was a puppy. Um, and so it's about his interactions with this high content wolf dog, basically. Um, and in it, like one of the big things that he talks about is that wolves kind of live in the now. They take care of what needs to be taken care of, and they don't worry so much about tomorrow or a week from now. But they do what needs to be done today. And I like that a lot. I try to think of that when I lose focus. Um, and I don't know, it was a very good book.
Yeah, and it's about trying to use your euphoria as a tool to help yourself live better and live in a way
Hmm.
that aligns to your center better. How can you fulfill your kin type in more than just wearing a tail, which is great and we love it. And I have a tail and I wear it all the time. But how else can we nurture that in ways that are more personal to our center?
Hmm.
And so kind of following that, onto our next panel, embracing the cringe.
It is okay to be cringe. One man's cringe is another man's treasure. Um, Kurt Vonnegut said that this is a Kurt Vonnegut Jr. quote. He said, "I tell you, we are here on Earth to fart around, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise." And I think he's right. Um, we're here, and we're on the Earth, and we have our whole lifetimes, and it shouldn't all be pain or things that bug us. We can find things that we like. Sometimes other people won't get that, and they will see it as cringe. Um, but it if it's not hurting yourself and not hurting other people, it have fun.
You were just a little creature. That's it. You cannot change this.
Yes, thank you for the wisdom the cat Pee Pee from Pee Pee Playhouse on Twitter. Um, it it is really good to just be a little creature sometimes, and even if other people don't always get that, like I get it, and I have friends and family who get it, and it is healing and fulfilling to be a little creature.
And, you know, something that we could honestly take a whole panel talking about, and I think that's the reason we haven't really touched on it is because I think we could probably go on for it for a while, is, I'm autistic. They overlap with the autism and neurodivergence across the board, with queer and trans experiences, all that stuff. We the mocking of otherkin, of furry, of any of this kind of stuff is often a red flag for people just needing an excuse to make fun of you. For you're not doing they found something that's not acceptable enough and a way to lean into. Yeah, it's very rooted in ableism.
Yes, it's
The
people
idea of
finding excuses to make fun of you or to mock you for things that aren't a problem. It's just people being mean.
mean, like it's literally just
Mean
people being
about
mean,
people that they don't understand.
and because it's outside that realm of understanding, because it's something they can't relate to, um, it scares them. And but you know what? That's okay. It's it doesn't, kind of like what we were going back to before, and um Jay has a Jay said something really good about this when we were talking about all of this. And it was that they don't feel the need to go up to everybody on the street and convince them that they're a wolf. It's an exercise in trust. It's an expression of trust. I'm sorry, an expression of trust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think about that a lot, like with my autism, with being queer, like that is not always something that I'm gonna tell everybody, because sometimes that's for me. It's something that informs my experience, and it's something that I'm allowed to be proud of, and I'm allowed to appreciate and enjoy. I just have to find people that support that. So yeah, embrace cringe. It's beautiful. I remember
It
when they
is
called
beautiful.
I remember when they called Britney Spears cringe. That was one of the earliest cringes. And now see where we are with Britney Spears and the way they've treated Britney Spears, and like that what all of that ended up being. Um
Mm-hmm.
it's cringe is, it's not the way. It's not the way. It's about loving yourself and having the enough self-love to be both real with yourself in a way that helps you it's about being real with yourself in a way that helps you grow, and sometimes that also means being real with yourself doesn't always mean being negative about yourself. It also means celebrating yourself. Yeah, oh my gosh, can we get Dolly Parton and Britney Spears at OtherCon next year?
Yeah, guests of honor next year.
Um, yeah, so in conclusion, we'll start answering some questions. Uh, go be an animal.
Yeah,
Uh,
celebrate yourself and your animality. Being yourself on purpose is good and healthy, and there is virtue in self indulgence.
picked a capybara because they love to hang out with any animal.
Hmm.
Um,
They love to just vibe and be animals with other animals.
yeah, just be a little creature. It's it's never hurt anybody, and to be a little creature. I should probably shouldn't say it's never hurt anybody, but y'all know what I mean. Be smart about it, but follow our, you know, what or where, who, what, how, and you know, be smart and be a little creature.
Hmm.
So to hop over to our questions, let's see. We already answered stereotypes, euphoria in general. Are we going to go over awakenings? You got a lot of euphoria after figuring out. I'm wondering if you had similar experiences. Pete, did you have like an awakening euphoria?
Kind of, yes. As I said at the beginning of the panel, I learned about Therians through like a werewolf message board. And when I first joined the message board, I was like, "Oh, I fit in with these people. Like, I can just be a wolf with these people." And that is marvelous. That's wonderful. Even if I can't always just be a wolf out in my everyday life in the real world, I can be a wolf with these people and they get it and they are a supportive community.
Absolutely. I had a euphoria. Yeah, I mean, I was pretty young when I realized that I was a wolf. But it's funny because I was actually really into cats before I became a wolf, and dogs were okay. I wasn't super into dogs yet, and but I was just really into cats. I thought cats were really cool. My sister liked dogs, so we couldn't be the same, you know. And I read Julia of the Wolves, and I don't know if any of you have read that, but it was my first kind of like experience with reading about wolf behavior. And I as I flipped through and was reading it, I was like, this is me. This me. I'm in these pages. Like I've never seen I don't know how, but this is who I am. And yeah, so definitely had that like awakening experience for sure. Um would
Uh,
feeling euphoria from being let's see, one trying to go down the list. Would feeling euphoria from being referred to as something like a planet be called species euphoria?
I think it's functionally the same thing, but maybe like just kin euphoria would be a more accurate phrase.
I've been introduced to the term heart home this weekend, and that's a new one for me that describes a succinct experience that I've had. And I really love it. And so I'm just gonna plug it here again because I just think it's really, really cool. And I think that that almost sounds like a heart home thing. I think being saying, okay, this is who like someone certifying that you're from a certain planet would be like it's like if someone were to acknowledge me being from Hyrule, I'm always like, thank you, I appreciate it, because that's correct. um you know so yeah, I think there's some overlap there. Do you think encouraging people to change their circumstances where they can to increase the amount of tail in their lives, so to say, is a reasonable thing? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think that like you would really love to. I think the goal is always going to be trying to be in environments where you can be more yourself over time.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and trying to if that even if that means having to like I mean, because like, for example, my husband and I have been together 10 years. When we first started getting to know each other, he wasn't super receptive to Ken stuff. Now he is Ken. Like it's, these things take time sometimes and people have to go through that process, but it
Hmm.
definitely is a thing that, starting out, maybe wearing my tail wasn't always the most comfortable thing for him and he didn't really understand it. And with time, he's reminds me to do things like that, to take care of
Yeah.
myself.
And like when I was early in my tail wearing days, like I would wear a tail to a costume party, and then the next month I would wear a tail to a party that wasn't necessarily a costume party, and then I would wear a tail just to hang out. And then the more I did it, the more people would be like, "Oh yeah, Pete has a tail,"
Yeah. Yep,
and
yep.
that's just Pete has a tail.
And I think
It's not
warming
anything weird, like out of the norm anymore. You know?
yeah, warming yourself into that pool, kind of dipping your toe in the water and graduating like doing it slowly is a great way. I definitely started my conversations with like, for example, with my husband, the first conversation was, "Hey, so I like really relate to wolves in just like a really, like big way." Like for example, if I picture myself, sometimes I'm like, a wolf. Isn't that huh? And he was like, "Oh yeah, that kind of makes sense." And then now it's like I'm a wolf and he's like, "I know, honey." You know, it's just a fact. And so yeah, the but weaning in, and I think the idea of coming to accept it over time is definitely good. You want to see that increase, those circumstances increase. Thoughts on hiding your other Kintherian side behind animal roleplay groups like Pup and Furry? I know it was discussed yesterday, but I'm kind of curious what people think about Furry and Pup if they don't want to go to detail. So I don't want to go too far into that because I don't want to reach into like 18 up topics, but, I think it's fine. I think it's all about, like, it
Yeah.
it goes back to that, like, area assessment around you and saying, like but the overlap in those communities is honestly huge. I don't know what the Venn diagram looks like, but the bubbles are not super far apart.
Yeah,
Um
there's a lot of connection there. Also, like, similar to what we said about uh you don't ever have to disclose, like, you don't have to tell just a random stranger that you're a wolf. Like, you don't have to reveal personal information about yourself to anyone. It's it's your identity and your life, and like, if you want to be intimate with your friends and your family and tell them details about yourself, that is totally fine. But if you don't feel like saying, "Oh, I'm otherkin," and it's easier or makes more sense or is safer or feels more right to say, "Oh, I'm a furry," that is totally within your rights and abilities.
Yeah, and, like, yeah, absolutely. You don't ever have to disclose that to anybody, and, like, I think that people in those communities are generally gonna be a lot more receptive, but, I don't think you're, like, hiding, like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're deceiving anybody. I think that if you're enjoying the experience of being a furry or doing pup play or whatever it is, then you are still effectively in that. You're so
24-hour
strong. Thank
panel.
you. Just gotta keep going. Have we tried VR before? I haven't tried VR before. I would love to. I think
I've done a small amount of VR, but not any with like custom avatars.
think it would be real cool. There's a place not far from here that does VR stuff, but with everything with COVID being funky and like also I don't want to go in and be like, "Hey, I need you to make me a werewolf, please." Um you know, but one day I would really love to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I think
I
it'd be
am
really
very fascinated by the growth and popularity of VR, especially in furry and non-human circles. It's really cool and really interesting, and a lot of people, I, from what I've seen, are getting a lot of species euphoria from having an avatar that looks like how they feel they should look. You know, the animal that they should be. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
so yeah, I am interested in trying more of it, but
Yeah,
haven't yet.
I've definitely heard really positive experiences. So, um as a fellow canine, I'm curious, do you feel more comfortable in layered and winter clothing in comparison to lighter and summer clothes? Yeah, definitely. May not be a universal experience, but for me, yeah, for sure. I definitely love to be layered up. I love to feel bundled up in cold weather because it kind of simulates what I feel like, maybe having fur in the cold would be like. Having like
Also, really like feeling bundled up in the winter. Um, so yeah. And Sin had said before that they like to wear like a big scarf. Um, I also like, this isn't as much about cold weather, but I like to wear a necktie and use like a full Windsor to tie it in a full Windsor knot, because then that gives me the feeling of like a chest ruff.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Um, can Euphoria about camping, living off the land? Absolutely. That stuff is great. I think that's I'm pagan and I'm part of a temple back home in the mountains and nothing like there's really wonderful euphoria to be had in just, laying out in the woods. And
Mm,
kind of that leads into what's the best feeling of species euphoria you felt. Some of the best
mm.
species euphoria I've had is I have a group of friends that know that I'm a wolf, and they aren't all other kin, but they respect that I am, and they acknowledge me that way. And so probably something like being bundled up in a big pile of my friends and with my tail on and some nice movie on and my stomach full of good food that I've just chowed down on and like um had this gorging with my pack experience and then dozing with them, um, comfortable and warm while it's, chill outside. And that those are such wonderful experiences that, every time I've had an experience like that, I'm like, this is what it is to be a wolf, and it
Mhm.
feels good. So that's probably been some of my best species euphoria.
Um, I my wife is really good at scratching behind my ears. It
Do
feels
love
very
your
good.
scratches.
It's very good and makes me feel very, very dog.
Absolutely. And, being in a pile with my dogs, I have 2 dogs, and so, like and one of my dogs in particular loves to, like, cuddle pile, and loves to dog pile, and so just being piled up with her and hanging out with her, is really good species euphoria for me 'cause,
Mhm.
we just hang out and be dogs, and it's nice. Um, I'm worried I'm gonna miss some questions, but I'm kind of answering questions in the questions channel, so if you have questions, make sure to throw them there. Um, what are your thoughts on expressions of kinninity that are more out there, such as animal vocalizations, nonverbal shifts, or walking on all fours? I think they're wonderful. And I think that people who mock and derive them are, again, just trying to mock and derive something they don't understand.
Mhm.
And
Very agreed.
I think that those because again, quote unquote loosely, they are more out there and things that people might be aggressive to you for. I think that they're definitely things that are worth doing that risk assessment about of in the area, but also like realistically some of these expressions are just going to be expressions that you're going to have and that's okay. Um you're not hurting anybody. Some of my best kin euphoria has also been crawling around on all fours at night in my house because it feels good to crawl around on all fours in my house.
It does. I We recently moved, and the place that we're in now has a staircase, like a full staircase. That honestly, it's great to run up on all fours. It's a very good crawling staircase.
Yeah, and I love to I whine, I growl, I love to howl. Like I said earlier, I one of my things is like uh if I get an urge to howl, I literally made this playlist so that I could make animal vocalizations and people wouldn't question me about it because I'm singing to a song and nobody's going to question me howling along to a song.
Hmm.
And it's and like a note to acknowledge that it is ridiculous that these are things we might have to do safety assessments on because you're not hurting anybody. But again, for your own safety, it's worth doing just because it's all about like is it worth somebody being aggressive about it? And if you feel like it was worth it, then and you feel like you are okay for that, then hey, fight that fight. Stand up for yourself. I think it's worth it. Before you learned you were Therian, did you ever wonder if you were because you don't feel human? I don't know if I fully understand the question. Before you learned you were Ethereum, did you wonder if you were because basically, I think you're asking, did I feel non-human before I realized that I was Ethereum? Is that right? Oh yeah, no, yeah. I can't speak a whole lot to that experience because I kind of like got on to being Ethereum when I was like 8 and then found the term Ethereum when I was like 12. So I don't remember. I don't think I thought that I was crazy, but I definitely knew that I was different.
Yeah, I
Um,
definitely felt weird. Like I noticed that I had some differences between me and other people. Um,
for sure.
and I was just like, I don't know. I like animals more than I like people. I wish I could be an animal. Um,
Mhm,
and I think I recognized at an early age that that was not something everyone felt. But
mhm. I was saying to my husband before the panel started because we were just chatting um, that being a wolf is one of the foundational principles of my life experience that I realized really young, and it's one of the only things of my identity my whole life that I've been like, this is accurate. Like this is one thing that I know. I may not know other things, but I know this thing, and it is that I am a wolf. Um, and it, and I knew that that made me different from other people. Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
but that was okay because I'm a wolf, so I'm not I'm not like other people's. And
I've known for a very long time, like even before I started identifying as a Therian or otherkin or non-human at all. Um, I've always known that I really wished I had a tail, and I didn't know what that was about for a lot of for a bunch of my childhood, but I always knew that was an important character trait of mine, one of my base character traits.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think that's, like, our time. We're roughly at, like, roundabouts an hour. Um, and we've gone through all of our questions. So, does anybody have any more questions, or, are we good to wrap up? I hope that this was helpful for some people. We were kinda like, "Well, we kinda feel like we're just gonna sit and be excited about Ken for an hour," but, I hope that our enthusiasm about it translated to you as well and made you feel excited about being Ken. Because it is really amazing, and it's this really awesome, unique experience that we have to
Yeah,
I was saying to Pete just the emotions that I had earlier listening to panels and listening to people from all over the world having, all these different accents of people coming in and talking about, their experiences with being Therian and being otherkin and being systems and, the uh, there are just so many like nuances to this experience. And real quick, Wolf, I saw your comment. Yes, absolutely. Um, and I know that kink is totally non-sexual. Big supporter of non-sexual kink. I just didn't want to delve too far into it. You know, I don't want to cross the line. Love the pup community though. Very, very important part of our culture. I think I would say that it definitely overlaps.
oh, Fernan says, did you and your friends ever do some non-human type things? Like me and my friends used to wear stuffed animal snakes as tails and pretend we were dragons when we were little. Um, I mean, when I would play pretend story games with my friends in elementary school, um, I was like a talking velociraptor, or I would be the brother of Reepicheep from Chronicles of Narnia. Um, so I would just I even when my other friends were like, "Oh, we're I'm a space pirate," I'd be like, "Oh, I'm a werewolf." When
Um,
we would play as kids.
my fiction kin type, which I haven't talked about as much here, is Link Legend of Zelda. And when I was a kid, my cousin and I used to play Legend of Zelda by like pretend playing Legend of Zelda. And we almost came to blows multiple times because he always tried to make me be Princess Zelda, who is wonderful and I love. But I was always like, no, I'm Link. That's how this works. And like we really did. We almost fought several times because it was just because he was like, no, you know, at the time I was a girl and it was like, "No, you have to be Zelda," and I was like, "Mm-mm, that's incorrect though." So yeah, definitely. I also had some cool I lived out in the sticks, very from a rural area, and I had some neighbors that were our age from down the road, and when I was young, run in the woods, feral creature as a kid, we would howl to each other to let each other know that we were getting close to each other's houses.
That's so
Um,
wonderful.
so when you heard the howling, that's how you knew that your friends were almost there. And that was so euphoric. I miss that so much, honestly. I
Yeah.
wish I could still howl to let my friends know that I'm almost at their house.
Hmm. And my dad, for since almost my entire life, has been a high school biology teacher. So I have always had random animals in my house that my dad keeps. And I always had a lot of books on animals and nature. And so I just was, even from a young age, just drawn to animals. Animals are good.
Yeah, animals good. Love animal. Um, okay, I think that's it for us. Any other last minute questions before we go? Thank you for having us. Um,
Yeah, thank you for being here. I hope everyone liked the panel.
yeah, you are all good dogs. Oh, I guess we could. This is probably where we should plug our server. So we do have
Oh,
a
sure.
server for were creatures. Or anybody aligned with werewolves, or even if you just appreciate them or feel that your kin manifests in a werewolfy way. Mostly, it's just a place to build community. We call it WWW or WereWeb. It's the World Wide WereWeb. And we just try to aim to be like a wholesome community of this kind of vibe. So we'll be sure to throw that in the there's a advertisements.
Advertisements.
That's where we'll put it in the advertisements.
Oh,
Um,
Sin just shared a link in the panel 4 chat. Beautiful.
and
Thank you,
we'll
Sin.
we'll still put it in the advertisements though. And yeah, that way you're welcome to hop over there. Got a good team, and thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Oh.
Oh, woo! You've all been wonderful. Yee. Yeah.
The construction of Minecraft. The construction of the gay bar has begun. Yeah, we live in a cave and then we go and make a fucking gay bar of all the things. Tunnels have expanded.
I am a bit worried that I am causing some of the lag because I went out a little far. Okay, okay. I just worry because I went out a little bit far to build. I'm not spawning too many more chunks now that I'm actually building. But it's okay for now. I just worry in general.
So, question, uh, weird question. Wasn't Beethoven banned from the
I do
Minecraft
not
server as
know.
well?
I don't know. That's that's something that I don't know what happened with that in general, so I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just
was just revealed to me today that Beethoven was not in the con anymore. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna ask him. That's fine.
Yeah, wasn't there something going on about that in other Connect?
Yeah, there
Oh,
was like drama.
Yeah.
there was. I have not. I've been so focused on other con that I haven't been looking at anything else.
I don't think it was
Literally.
too much drama, but I didn't read all of it.
I haven't read any of it. I
I've read.
haven't read any message apart from OtherCon.
Yeah,
I'm
same. I've
honestly
just.
just
It's been all other con all weekend, and it's.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I only joined in today, but I've been here since like 9 a.m. I guess. It's now 10 p.m.
For me, it's 5 in the morning. I should be asleep, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Anxiety is a bitch, and she will not let me sleep.
Hmm. I should definitely be going to sleep here at some point. So I'm trying to like fix my sleep schedule. So I've actually been up for like 24 hours, bit more
Oh,
than I.
I'm
So
Um,
that
currently.
time.
I'm currently hell bent on breaking my sleep schedule because I just want to hang out with cool folks here who are gonna be playing Minecraft.
yeah. Also, if anyone wants to help with the gay bar,
I will.
Is that going to be happening? Is that like in the under the library, or where
It
is this
could
happening?
be. It could
Was
be if
that
you
the
wanted
the
it to
stripper
be.
thing that was in the chat?
yeah, it's going to be literally underneath the bar. It just
Amazing. Yeah, I mean it could be wherever. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, because I know the tunnels under the library. I don't know what all is going on with that. There seems to be plans. Not sure what those plans are. I'm just working on the exterior. Oh, speak of the devil. Sin is in the library. I assume AFK. Library is literally all I've built on the server so far, besides like I dug a little hole for myself and um who
I
someone
live
else moved in.
in I live in the fucking hall where I have like two beds, but nobody else but Ghospur lives there.
There is signs of life near where I am. Mainly, there is one campfire, and I don't know where it came from.
Oh boy.
I know where that is.
If someone's been here, but they're gone
Oh,
now.
is that like the big giant weird cave?
Hello.
Oh,
Was
No, I'm
wasn't
in the
there
middle of.
I
some
haven't.
Sorry, that's my eyes peeled. I can
I
go on a
can
little
I
hike for
think there
some.
was
yeah, I can
like
go exploring.
a desert.
Yeah. Here, do